Hi, David.
Hi, thanks for meeting today. It's so great to speak with you. Huge fan of the book when it was released. Got me crying the whole way through, and I was so excited to see it adapted as a film. So I'm happy to talk with you today.
Oh, thank you.
So first of all, when you wrote Spoiler Alert, did you ever imagine it as a film?
No, never realistically imagined it. I didn't, as I was writing it, it was hard for me to imagine it as a book. Like I was like, am I going to finish this thing? Am I going to actually to complete this process that I set out to do, which uh, was always sort of a question because it was a hard process. And there were times when I was like, I can't do this. Why am I doing this? Why am I putting myself through this so soon after the loss of my husband? And the reason I did it so soon was because I was afraid I would start to forget the smaller moments. And
Mhm.
in order to do the story justice, I felt like, there was so much importance on remembering the little moments. But I'm forgetting what the rest of your question was.
Oh, did you ever imagine it as a film?
Oh, so the only time that I imagined it as a film, so the last chapter of the book is, spoiler alert, it's a bit of a fantasy. It's the only piece of the book that's fiction. And in that moment, I imagined, I was thinking when I was writing it cinematically. So I was visualizing it, but never like, oh my God, this is how it's going to look in the movies. More of like, this is just the idea of like transferring it to that medium. It had crossed my mind.
Yes. I know writing your book was part of your grieving process. Has being a part of the film process brought back those same emotions, or has it been different somehow?
It's been very different. This has been a much easier, enjoyable experience. Again, because the writing of the book started mere months after Kit had died. I was deep in grief, and it almost felt at times masochistic to be diving back into these really painful chapters, literally and figuratively, of my life so soon after suffering such an immense loss. Now, there's obviously been some distance, and I've done my fair amount of grieving, and I'm able to, I think, allow myself to enjoy and be excited and happy about the process more than I was when I was writing the book.
I know in adaptation, there are many things that sometimes lose translation or that are fictionalized for the screen. But is there a specific moment in the film that you feel happened exactly how you remember?
The deck scene. The deck scene at the end after Kit learns that the cancer had spread to his brain, and then we go out to our deck in New York City, and he's smoking pot and I'm drinking a glass of wine, and we just put all our cards out on the table. Uh, it was just so beautiful to watch Ben and Jim and Michael Showalter directing, um, uh, execute that moment, and it was so true to how the actual experience was.
I think you can actually feel that because that's the point when you're watching that you feel like, okay, there's like a shift in the storytelling as well. And that's when you realize, okay, we're getting closer to some kind of end. So that I think resonates with the viewer as well. So I can see that. Um, the film has a holiday undertone. Was that deliberate?
I don't know if it was deliberate, but it was a Christmas was a huge part of my relationship with Kid. It was a huge part of the book. I honestly don't know how you could do a movie version and sidestep Christmas. But no one set out to being like, this is a Christmas movie. In fact, we didn't have any idea when it would be released. Would it be around the holidays? We don't know. But it's baked into the DNA of the story. So there was never any doubt that Christmas would figure in fairly prominently into the story.
And what do you think Kit would have thought about, spoiler alert, both the book and the film?
I have no idea. Kit was so particular about his art and had always had strong opinions, even things that I thought, oh my God, he's going to love this. I'd be surprised, and I'm sure he'd have notes. I'm sure he'd have opinions about the movie. I do think with a fair amount of confidence that he'd be very happy that we cast Ben Aldridge as him. I think Kit would be a huge fan of that particular casting.
Good casting, yeah. Good casting for sure. Has Kit's family seen the film? What are their thoughts?
Some of his family has seen it, and his parents have not seen it. I've let them know that I'm respectful of whatever decision they make if they want to see it. They're grieving their only child, and I respect their process. And I think the idea of seeing the movie and reliving that trauma is hard, and I absolutely understand
Absolutely.
that. But his cousin saw it and a couple of months ago, and she had a very emotional, positive reaction.
That's great to hear. For you, any more plans for any more books?
No, sort of concrete plans, but ideas, sure. Like I'm thinking about, I have other stories to tell. Whether I feel inspired enough to actually tell those stories, like inspired in a way that I felt inspired to tell this, remains to be seen.
All right. And last question, what is the current state of your Smurfs collection?
The current state of my Smurf collection is that they are safely in storage in New York City, being guarded 24/7. So don't get any ideas.
Did you bring any of it with you to LA?
So the collection actually was in LA, and it was the Focus, the studio, had it moved to New York, which is where we shot it. So
Okay.
it now is still in New York and hasn't gone back to LA. I'm not sure what the next adventure is for the Smurfs. That remains to be seen. But right now they're relaxing in storage. They're taking a break. They worked hard on that movie.
Sounds great. Well, thank you so much, Michael. I really appreciate your time.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right. Bye bye.